and you didn't know I was going to do a warm-up, and I thought I was going to do more of a talk. So,
Whatever you want to do.
cool, yeah. Just a short talk. First of all, thank you for inviting me to share this time with you. For those of you who don't know, I'm a jazz trumpet professor here. Been here for 15 years at the University of Illinois. Before that, I lived in Chicago for 10 years, where I started my career as a jazz artist and freelancer and that type of thing. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and just kind of my experience growing up in the jazz, at least for my jazz experience. I originally from Austin, Texas, and all of the public schools that I went to, from middle school onward, had a jazz band. We had a big band, that type of thing. So as I was learning my instrument, I was always exposed to both traditional methods, classical and jazz, and I was very thankful that I had private teachers that were not only teaching me and assigning me things, but also providing me context for where to go to listen to great classical trumpet players, great jazz trumpet players. They were not only giving me names, they were actually, back then we had cassettes. If you've ever heard of those, but they would actually make me, and I really appreciated that. And I was one of those students that just really that had a big impact on me, and that's what got me started on my own journey. Okay. If I could say a word about, come on in, don't worry, no worries. If I could just say a word about kind of the current state of jazz big band culture. What I notice in going around the country and being an adjudicator for jazz festivals is that it becomes very, very quickly apparent those directors who have at least some familiarity with the style, with the history of jazz. Perhaps you played an instrument coming up that you had a lot of jazz band experience, and then those who did not really have as much, and it's reflected, in the approach to the style, in things such as repertoire, the things that are selected to perform, all of those things. And so my first message to each of you, regardless of what your primary instrument was, and regardless of where what your own experience growing up was, at least in with jazz band or maybe no jazz band, is it's really important that you go on your own jazz journey. Really super important. And what does that look like? Well, first of all, that looks like, if you don't know where to begin, find someone, a friend, or you have friends here, even in the room, who can point you to great things to listen to, things on your instrument. Obviously, if you're in front of a band like this, not only do you have to know how to speak to the horns here, you got to be able to speak to the rhythm section and know something about the roles of the rhythm section. For example, the bass and drums and guitar and piano. Okay, so going on your own journey means learning about the style, the proper articulation, which is quite different, as I'm sure you all know. You can use methods such as the Jazz Conceptions book by Jim Snodero is a great resource. Here's the problem with jazz. If you go straight to things like transcriptions and some of the historical big band charts, is those can get very, very technical. I mean, you may find yourself teaching and standing in front of a big band with a long history and tradition of jazz band excellence, for example. But more than likely, you're gonna spend some time in your career, where you're kind of having to build everything up if you want to have that, right? And that's why it's going to be important to know and to grow. I think that's the other thing. To grow with your students. If you don't know a lot about the jazz style, if you don't know a lot about jazz history, go on that journey with your students. You know what I mean? This is super, super important, and you can do things like inviting, local jazz educators to come and speak and work with your children and rehearse with your students and that type of thing, and obviously take an abundance of notes. And then let's talk about the big word in the room, which is improvisation, right? I want to encourage each of you. Part of your jazz journey is taking your first steps, if that's foreign to you or if that's absolutely frightening to you, to take those first steps. And again, this is also something that you can do along with your students. I understand the reality of when you're teaching professionally, you're probably only going to have jazz band, but twice a week, maybe something like that. In most cases, it's usually not a class in the middle of the day. It's going to be something early before school starts and that type of thing. So time is limited when you're in rehearsal space. But even taking a rehearsal once in a while to devote to improvisation, for example, to open up a blues. And I really think if I could just talk about this mindset of the improvisers, how many of you, be honest with me, how many of you just have a legit straight up fear of improvisation? Raise your hand. Okay, it's been almost half of it. That's cool. It's very normal. The key is to identify where that fear comes from. A lot of times I feel that the fear is a result of not really having a structure, enough of a structure when you are improvising. Like, okay, give me something so that I can know that it's going to sound good, it's going to sound, that type of thing. And that's what you want to give with your students. I mean, if you present to your students, okay, we're going to have one rehearsal where we're just going to focus on improvisation and we're going to play these two tunes and go around and everything play. Half of your students are going to be like, yes, this is great, this is what I want to do. And then the other half are going to be in terror probably, right? Or at least some of them might be. A lot of this is due to kind of having that perfection, that mindset, that critical mindset. You want it to be right. You want it to be good. Improvising is a lot more like jamming with your friends in the garage, right? Under no supervision, right? There's no educator there going, you got to do this, you got to do this. No, improvising should be a lot more like, hey, let's see what we can make up and do together. That's kind of the attitude. It's like joining a science fair just because you enjoy it. And so you're going to build a paper mache volcano and you're going to blow up stuff. It's going to be fun. You want to encourage that with everybody. Also, I've got a little trick for you. Not trick, but an exercise. I use free improvisation with my own students, even my jazz students here at the university. And the primary reason is to make the distinct difference between the preparation mindset, which we're all very familiar with. You know what it's like to get an assignment and then having to prepare it, and lots of repetition and going over and over and slowing it down and being very methodical, and then presenting, right? And then the flow mindset, which is super important to improvisation. If I were to equate it to classical music, I was a classical trumpet major in college. I prepared my pieces as best I could. I slowed everything down. I listened to multiple interpretations of the piece that I was playing. And then as the concert date, the recital date drew closer, I knew that I had to start getting into that flow mindset, because at the performance, this is my one opportunity to play this piece. So what is the flow mindset? It's basically it's the art of music making. Like it's you cannot stop. You cannot correct yourself. There's no correction of mistakes. It's always thinking forward and not thinking backwards. And I think this is where free improvisation becomes very, very helpful. Because literally when you play free, there are no wrong notes. Every note is right. If if a drummer drops their sticks, that's part of the music, and you go with it. If you happen to make a sound on your instrument, it sounds like you stepped on a cat. Do it again. And do it again, and then find a way. But the real thing it does, it gets you listening to yourself while you're playing and listening to other people. Here's a real simple, there's a whole lot of you, so we're not going to do it right now, but here's a real simple exercise that you can do with a partner. You can even play this exercise by yourself in the practice room. Free improvisation. Play one note, any note, then play two, then play three, then play four, and then keep repeating that cycle over again. Literally any note, it can be fast, it can be slow, it can be somber, it can be excited, it can be up high. Look, it doesn't matter. But what it does is it gets you into more of this creative state where you're just listening and responding. It's really a lot more fun to do with other people, by the way. So that's a very simple little exercise. You could do this with your own students. Now, if you have a big ensemble like this, you probably want to go one by one where maybe you demonstrate, play a note, that type of thing. We could do something like that, or break into groups. I did want to say this too. How are we doing on time?
We're good. 8 minutes.
Okay, cool. I always enjoyed, as long as I've been playing, I started playing when I was 12. As I said before, I loved classical music, I love jazz, I love all kinds of music. And I really took to the trumpet early. I had teachers who guided me and saw something in me, that type of thing, and I really enjoyed practicing at a pretty young age. And but in my high school years, I felt much more comfortable in the classical realm. I love listening to jazz. I listen to jazz all the time, but I just felt I played classical better. It was clearer. It was a clearer picture to me of what my objectives were and how to achieve them. Jazz improvisation was this big mystery, right? Very difficult. It's the kind of thing that you can practice and you're just not sure if you're getting any better. Anybody ever felt like that? So, yeah. When I was a senior in high school, we had a very good music program, and we had a good big band. But we had enough people in the big band that really wanted to go deeper with improvisation. It happened to be a combo. It was a guitarist, a drummer, bass player, a saxophonist, and myself, right? So nobody encouraged us in the beginning. We just started meeting at the sax player's house, and we bought real books, and we just started reading books. I'm sure we sounded terrible, okay? But we just started reading standards together and playing. And then back then, of course, totally different without Spotify and YouTube and everything like that. We were buying albums, going to a place called Tower Records, which probably none of you have ever heard of, and there's something about that. That's a whole other lesson one day. There's something about when you purchase an album and it's like, okay, here's this Coltrane album, and I can get this one, but I can't get this one. And so when you buy it and you bring it home, you cherish it more. You know what I mean? You want to kind of get your money's worth, I guess. So you really want to listen to it. We live in a very different environment right now. But I really think that had a lot to do with learning how to listen deeply to music. Something cool really happened though. We discovered that our band director, who was a saxophonist by trade, actually went to school for jazz piano, and we had no idea. And he found out that we were meeting and decided on the spring concert that he would have the combo play between the jazz ensemble performance and the concert band performance. We get up and play a couple of tunes, and he joined us on piano. And I want everybody to really think about encouraging your students, you know, and especially the ones that tend to show more interest. I mean, obviously, you want all of your students to benefit, and I think they will. But there's going to be some that are going to want to go much deeper, much further. Encourage those students, and even if it's a little bit out of your comfort zone, find places for them to play. That's jazz travels really well. You know what I mean? Because it's a smaller group, smaller unit, that type of thing. They can kind of be ambassadors for your school and for your music program. Think about that too. One last thing I want to say. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. There's a bit of a divide between jazz band culture and the authentic jazz history. And what I mean by authentic jazz history, I mean the artists that really shaped and molded the jazz canon as we know it. And on some level, even if you're very unfamiliar with artists going back to, like, you know, Louis Armstrong and Coleman Hawkins and Lester Young, and big bands like, obviously, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Thad Jones, and more modern groups like Maria Schneider. Yeah.
Sorry.
What does that mean?
Like when I was at the ball, we played like 3 of her tunes. I was always the person they're paying.
They're challenging. They're challenging. But she's coming from the lineage of Gil Evans. If you've ever heard Miles Davis and Gil Evans, things like Sketches of Spain, that was actually her teacher. And her music is kind of an extension of that. And that's what I want to say about jazz. It's like, you know, one generation of jazz musicians learned from the previous, and they were not limited by it, but they took it to another level, and then the next generation kind of picked up like that. And I just notice a lot of the music that's coming out from these companies like Kendor Presents, for example. I'm not trying to dog Kendor Presents. I'm sure they have a lot of good music. Okay. But there's also a lot of not so great music, and music that doesn't really reflect the American jazz culture. And I think I want you to look at it as kind of a responsibility that our students should know who Charlie Parker is and who Miles Davis is, and Clifford Brown and Sonny Rollins. And so selecting some repertoire, at least in your program, that reflects that, you know, that is going to be, even if there are more modern arrangements of these older songs, so that we can start to point our students to do their own investigation of these artists. I think that's just a really important thing I wanted to impart and share. It's good for all of us. You know what I mean? It's good for all of us. Okay? That's about all I got, Ryan. Okay? So, where are we going to go now? It looks like we have Blue Flute is up, and Andy's going to direct. Yeah. Cool.
My name's Andy. So if we could all get out Blue Flute right now. I just wanted to go over just one quick thing. Okay, so in this chart, it's a 12-bar blues. And so something great about the 12-bar blues is that there's its own scale for it, right? And so right now, I just want to teach you guys the B flat scale real quick. Okay. Do we all know our concert pitches on these instruments, or should I give your guys' pitches? No preference? Okay, so, let's see. Okay, so, just real quick. So for alto saxophones and the Barry sax, okay, so our blues scale is going to be a G, and then along with that, a B flat, a C, C sharp, D, F, and G. So altos, just real quick. Can we play that on half notes? And I'll give you guys the pitches as well. So 1, 2, ready, G, B flat, C, C sharp, D, F, and then G. There we go. So that is your guys' B flat blues scale, all right? And so now for tenor saxophones, trombones, I'm sorry, not trombones, and then trumpets, okay? So we're gonna play your guys' C blues, okay? So our first note, all right. So distant half notes again. Ready? And 1, 2, ready, C. E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, and then C. Alright, there's your guys' blues scales, and then for all of our C instruments, okay? So, alright, let's try it real quick. Alrighty? C instruments. So that's just our bones and then the rhythm section, correct? Alright, cool. Alright, let's try it. We're gonna start on our B flat, okay? And 1, 2, ready, B flat, D flat, E flat, E natural, F, A flat, and then B flat. Alright, so when we get to the solo section, I want everybody to start soloing on those pitches, okay? And then we'll see if we can open it up for people to solo by themselves if we have enough time. Alright, so with that being said, let's just see what we got, alrighty? We all good? Alright, from the top. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, ready, go. There we go, keep going. Beautiful. There we go. It's all right. All right. Cool. Cool. All right. So, let's back up just a little bit. So, can we actually start right from the top again. And so when it comes to jazz, it's something that my director taught me. Anything that's maybe longer than just like a dotted quarter note, anything longer than that, make it a forte piano. So we all know what a forte piano is, right? We play loud, gets really soft, and then crescendo all the way through, okay? So let's try just the just the first 4 bars, okay? And so we see on the end of 4, it's tied over to a dotted quarter note. So let's see if we can try to make that a forte piano, okay? All right, so 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. There we go. What do you guys think about that? You think we could be a little softer? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's try it again. I know there's a lot of people right here, but let's see if we can try to get that down just a little bit quieter, okay? All right, ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. See, I know y'all could do it. There we go. That's what we like to hear. So what do you guys think about that? A lot better? We think? Cool. All right. So, Joe, you're doing a great job setting the band up on those figures. So, can we, along with that, can we also can we go to measure 33 real quick? All right. So, Joe, in your drum part, you have the hits on 1 and then the end of 3, correct?
Yep.
All right. So this is actually a stop time course. So we're gonna need you to just cut out for. We're just gonna have you play on just 1 and then the end of 3 and just set everybody up. Okay?
Sure.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So can we just try it from 33 real quick? Okay. One, two, 1, 2, ready. Joe, great job. Thank you for that. So, in a stop time chorus, the drums and, or I guess the rhythm section, they all drop out, right? And so that means that we all have to keep time, okay? And so, just a general question. Who is in charge of time in a big band?
Everybody.
There we go. Okay, there we go. I appreciate that. Cool. I thought some people were going to say the drum set, so it makes me happy that it's thank God. Okay, cool. All right. So, also, I'm sorry. If we could also back up just real quick too. So pretty much the main theme, I guess, for this whole chart is that it's a call and response, right? And so the first 2 bars of this 12-bar blues, all the higher parts have the da do da do da, and then all the lower voices have the response. Da 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 bam. So we have a lot of high voices right now, and so raise your hand if you have the response.
Where?
I'm sorry, my bad. Back at measure 12. Right? Sorry, my thing is blurred out. Measure 12. Who has the response? There we go. So yeah, so we have the tenor saxes and then the bones. Okay. So for you guys, I want you to play that out just a little bit more. Okay. So can we try that real quick? All right. So let's go from measure 12 and then bones and tenors. Really bring that out. Okay. All right. Ready? 1, 2. Measure 12, ready, go. My apologies, I meant measure 9. I was looking at the wrong measure. We start from 9. My bad, y'all. All right, ready? Measure 9. All righty. 1, 2, measure 9, 2, ready, go. My I personally think the bones. You guys are being a little drowned out right now, just with the saxes. You know, just naturally because there's so many of you guys. But do you guys think we can play that just a bit louder? We're losing the timbre of you guys, you know, and that's really important with this. So can we just try that again, just real quick for measure 9?
There's about 5 minutes left. You feel free to jump in whenever.
All right. So let's start from measure 9, okay? Bones, give me some more power. I know y'all got it. 1, 2, measure 9, 2, ready, go. And y'all did the forte piano too? Thank you guys. Very good, very cool. Alright, so who would, by any chance, who would feel comfortable taking 2 courses by themselves at measure 45? Preferably a non-jazz major. No offense to you guys, I just want to give someone who's not too, who wants a little more experience with improvisation. Okay, so we got AJ. We'll do you first, and then we'll have another soloist after AJ. Who wants to take the? You want to take a solo? All right, cool. All right, so the way this is gonna work, so we all have backgrounds queued at 45, correct?
Yeah.
So we're gonna play one chorus without any backgrounds, and then once we take the repeat, that's when we're gonna take the play the backgrounds, okay? And so then once AJ's done and we played all the backgrounds, we're gonna go to, I'm sorry, what's your name? Kevin. So then Kevin's gonna take a chorus by himself, and then after that, we're gonna add the backgrounds in, okay? And so just keep in mind that this is the soloist spotlight, you know, so try not to play too loud to cover them up, okay? All right, so let's take it from 45. AJ, you got 2 courses.
Before we start, bass player, remind me of your name again.
Katie.
Katie. If you could not play not so clipped your quarter notes,
Yep.
a little bit more sustained,
Yeah.
more like boom, bing, bing, bing,
Yeah.
you know, like
For
it's really
sure.
singing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, let's try it out real quick. All right, 45. 1, 2, 1, 2, AJ. I think that was time for me, correct? Or
Yeah, you're all good.
all right, cool. All right, thank you guys. Well done, great.
Yep.
Oh, really?
really?
No.
Yeah, this string really throws me off.
Hey, while we're switching over, if I could just say a couple of things. Yeah, while we're switching over, if I could just say a couple of things. I love what Andy did as far as like opening it up for solos, and we even have that one kind of free jazz thing where everybody was kind of soloing at the same time. It's really cool. When you present this to your students, it's really good to have maybe a sheet, just kind of with explaining it in their key, for example, and what the blues scale is, for example. They have something that they can use right there, and more important than that, adding the mathematical formula for how to figure out a blues scale, because since the blues is so important, and we're going to be able to use that in any key, hopefully, eventually, that they know that if you take a major scale and have scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that a blues scale, you build it by doing 1, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 7, 5, flat 7, 1. You see what I'm saying? That would be really, really good. Something that they can have in their folder. They can always come back to it later. That type of thing.
Hi, y'all.
Hi.
I am Ray, if some of y'all don't know, and we are going to be doing JoJo Calypso. So this song, as said in the title, is a calypso, which means we're going to be playing a lot more straight than swung. Like the last song was do la do la do la do. This song is going to be da da do da 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 da. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot more straight. So, you guys ready to run this from top? Oh, actually, first, one thing. At measure. At measure 79, there was a solo section. So for this first run, we are going to open it up. Everybody take a blue, take 2 times through, just like how we did for Andy. And for this one, you're going to really focus in on using just your F major scale for concentration.
Major blues or minor blues?
If you want it to be spicy, you could add the flat 7 of the F major
Mixolydian.
Mixolydian. Make it Mixolydian. Yes. All right. So let's take it from the top. All right. Ready? Looks like some people are so excited.
Anybody have to change this?
Yeah. If you take a hand.
Oh, yeah.
All good?
Yeah.
All right. Now we're good. From the top. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, ready. y'all ready? Alright, so can we actually start all the way from the beginning? And y'all are getting the style real good, real well. It's really good. But something I really am noticing is right now we're still kind of clipping the notes. It's sounding really square. We're going da da do da 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 do da 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 do da, just kind of like you're wandering around. You're just kind of playing it right now. So try to really make it legato, as legato as it can go, unless it's marked otherwise. So I really want to hear it like da da do da da. Really put some energy behind it so that legato tongue of yours is really working and doing what it should be doing. All right, so.
Can I say something up front too? This for the rhythm section. Is there a tempo marking on this one? Because I know calypsos tend to be a little bit faster than
Quarter
Yeah.
to 142.
What, 140?
Yeah,
142.
Your groove for a calypso, I don't even know if this is written. I haven't seen your chart.
Yeah.
But it should be something like do da do da da
Okay,
da
yeah.
da da
Yeah, I can play that.
right?
Yeah.
It's more like a carnival type of
Yeah, okay.
atmosphere, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
And I think that's gonna enhance
That'll
what the
help.
horns are doing, right? So yeah, you can go ahead. You might want to just take just a little bit faster.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, so with that note, let's take it from the beginning. We'll take it a little bit faster and really keep it nice and legato. All right, and for this beginning part, we're building. We're getting excited. We're going. We're going to go somewhere. Where are we going? We are going all the way to, the saxes have the first main melody, that da-da-do-da. So until you hear that main melody for the first time, we're building. So keep going and keep crescendoing. All right, from the beginning. A one, a two, oh, no, that is fast. Ooh. A one, a two, a one, two, three. Alright, so starting right there, so from the pickups to measure 22, can I hear anybody that's going da da do da da do da da? Can we all say that with me? Ready? Right at 22. So 1, 2, 3. Da da do da da do da da. Da da do da da do da da. Yeah, so what I heard on that long note is we kind of backed off a little bit. I wanted to keep pushing forward so that we don't lose that momentum. Can we say it one more time? 1, 2, ready. Da da do da da do da 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 do da da. Yeah. All right. Can we play that one time? All right. Ready? A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, ready. Now can we try adding in everybody else? And be sure anytime you see that figure that we're repeating the same idea, that we're going to carry it over to the next time. All right, so let's add everybody.
About a 5-minute warning.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, ready. bottom of the floor, since parts are dropping out, I want everything to drop out. I want it to hit the bottom of the floor. So can we actually change that from more of a mezzo piano to piano? And then, oh, there goes the scores.
Is this
then,
at 46?
At 46, yeah. So I really want the bottom of the floor just to drop out. So I want everything there to kind of jump down to piano. And then we're going to hit the same building effect. So we're going to keep going until we hit all the way till the main melody comes down. All right, let's give that a shot. Can we try just jumping down to nothing for everybody right there and then slowly building up? Right there, 46. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. I know we can do better than that. Let's really jump down. Pianissimo, right there at the beginning. No matter what it says in the dynamics, I want it to feel like the floor is dropping out beneath the movement. Alright, so piano this time. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready.
Where are those flames coming from?
Right. Oh yeah. Sorry, that one is all on me. I should have said that we were doing it 2 times with 2 soloists, but thank you y'all for jumping up. Can we take it right there from 88 and pretend like we just had another amazing solo from these two? Yeah, right. Because that energy was good. The energy was going. We were going and going. All right.
We're
Right there.
about out of time, so less than.
Sounds good. Yeah. Let's just take it from this last section and finish out up till 96. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. We're all good. All right. Thank you so much, y'all.
One little thing I would add about the, again, when presenting about the improvisation, yes, the F major scale works and it is an option. I think oftentimes though, we got to remember that not every note of the scale is equal in jazz, and so, for example, if you can even guide your students in terms of thinking about chord tones, if it's an F major, thinking about outlining, and really, that's actually going to give them fewer notes that they have to think about, and it's gonna get them right into the notes that are the most meaningful, that produce the sound of the chord. you know, this sounds to me like it's F major. It might do a 2-5-1 or maybe kind of more of a F to C7, kind of back and forth, right? Like many traditional calypsos. So just kind of guiding them to outline those two chords, even the 1 and the 5 would go a really long way and get them sounding, you know, they're digging into the harmony even more. So I heard both soloists doing that, so it's great. I just want to say, I mean, it's very clear that all the you know, everybody here has a great familiarity with the jazz style. So that's why I don't really feel I'm having to say much. I like the time. I like how you're staying on top of the beat for the Latin stuff. I like the swing feel. So yeah, great job.
Alright, I want everybody again to change seats because it's really good. Yeah, please switch parts, switch folders, whatever you need to do. Switch around, switch around, switch around. Alright, hello guys. If you don't know me, my name is Claire. I'm a junior in music education. My primary is saxophone, and today we're going to play some Hipmunk Shuffle by Doug Beach and George Shuta? Don't know. But, before we get into this piece, I'm going to have y'all listen to it because I think listening is a huge part of playing jazz. Let's listen to it a little bit. Alright, that's about as much as we'll do. Now, before we play, I know y'all are extremely excited to start playing, but I'm going to have us sing a little bit first. So, can you repeat after me? Do-dot.
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 And allow me to redo that dot, because we want to make sure that our dots are very heavy, like dot. So, do-dot.
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 We in jazz world, we like to call those housetop accents, I believe. And even though in your part they're not housetop accents, the style kind of sounds like it. So if we want to add a little emphasis to those notes, that would be awesome. All right. With everything being said, let's get into it. And for solos, if people want to jump in, it's just a pretty basic concert F blues, I think. So, all right. Any questions before we start? All right, we are gonna
Wait,
start.
how many times are we doing the background or like the solo section? Just
41. At 41. A little weird. Let's do it twice for now, and let's do someone that is newer to jazz. Let's do people that are.
You can also point to someone and make them play.
That's true.
Feel free to do that. Feel free to do that.
You know, I just might.
you're joking.
All right, guys. Enough talk. Let's play. All right. A 1, articulations. Love how you're moving through the long notes and kind of crescendoing, like da. Was gonna like talk about that, but I don't even have to. I will say there's not a lot of dynamics written into here, so it really is up to us as an ensemble to kind of interpret it for ourselves and, you know, come up with what we want to say with this piece too. So I'm going to start at the beginning again, and this time I want y'all to experiment. Maybe start off piano at like do-da, 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 and then get back down. Do-da, do-da. I don't know, whatever you would like. But we're gonna
Could I
start.
say a little something? This is for drummer. Give me your name.
Emma.
Emma. So on this chart in general, when it's big, there's a lot of big moments in the chart, right? And then there are moments where maybe the orchestration comes down to just maybe saxes or something like that. What you're doing right now on the hi-hat, it's good for when it's a more sparse orchestration. But when the full ensemble is playing, you definitely want to be up on your ride cymbal with the snare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to open up your texture and give you more volume and that type of thing. And then don't be shy about throwing in an occasional, big crash. Drums is a pretty important. You're like the quarterback of the whole band.
Yeah.
Right?
That's scary. I'm terrified of drum set.
You're sounding good. Look at it. You sound
Thanks.
good. Yeah, you're keeping it solid the whole time. So.
Thanks.
Good stuff. All right, we'll start at the beginning just a little bit so we can experiment with dynamics because I want to get back to the improv solo section for a little bit after that. So, all right, top of the chart. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome! I loved that interpretation. It sounded a lot more comfortable, a lot more swinging. Love the style there. How much time do we have?
You have like 5.5 minutes.
Sweet. Okay. So we're gonna run to 41, the improv solo section. And this, if you're like a seasoned jazz player, this is gonna be, I guess, pretty much the fundamentals. So I apologize if it's boring. But I want to make improv a less scary thing because when people say the word improvisation, everyone's first reaction is like, I don't know what I'm doing. And that was mine too when I first started playing jazz. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm put on the spot. But we're going to make it so that it's not as scary as it seems. Alright, so this piece is key of F. Andy, did you do B flat blue scale or F blue scale?
What?
When you were warming up earlier.
B
We went to B flat.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure so I'm not reteaching anything. But so the F blue scale, for B flat instruments, you're going to start on G. Yeah, I believe, and then B flat. Actually, well, this B flat people, just repeat after me. G. accents. Also, I'm gonna do that again, and I've decided that we're gonna learn by ear because that's more important and also more time effective. Because when you're soloing, you're not gonna be looking at your scale. All right, we're gonna do that one more time, and we're gonna go back down too. All right. And for altos, I should probably give a starting pitch. That's your D. Yes, thank you. And for anyone else, I think that covers all the bases. I believe. Okay, yeah. So, do y'all have chord changes in this chart?
Yeah.
Okay, so for improv, basically each chord is, chords. It's based off a triad. Sometimes in jazz we'll add the seventh, so it'll be like, sorry, a dominant seventh chord, which I don't have enough time to explain all that, but for basics, when we're improvising, I'm gonna have everyone go around and do like a 2-bar phrase. Not scary, I promise. Try and improv and stick to just notes that we did in that scale. And if you want, you don't even have to do all those notes. You can go like, or you can even just use one note. Honestly, keep it simple. Don't have to do crazy 16th notes, I promise. All right, with that being said, we're going to start with you, Mariano, and then we're going to snake around, get all the way to the back, and then, actually, no, wait, it would make more sense to start, what's your name? Stefan. Start with Stefan so we can get to the rhythm section. All right, and everyone's going to go 2 bars, and you can keep it as simple as you would like. Okay, so 41. All right, just continuous. We're not going on.
Do you want rhythm section to play through the solos?
Yes, unless you're soloing.
Got it.
All right. And the chords are pretty repetitive, so like you want to follow closely. Okay. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, how much time do we have left?
We are done.
Sweet.
I tell my students that with improvisation, your first two responsibilities, it's like 1 and 1A, really. Make a great sound on your instrument, good job. And then swing. You gotta swing. You know, and so as far as harmony, that's the open universe. That's the part that can get very cloudy if you give too much information to your own students. So start them off, if they're really reluctant, give them the notes to play, or like what she said, using 1, 2 notes is the perfect idea. But make sure you're projecting, making a great sound, and you're swinging, and you're gonna sell it. Okay?
No, indeed, yeah.
Real quick, I'm Hernan, by the way. Hernan Herman, those of you that don't know me, because I don't know any of y'all. A couple. Can we just go around real quick and say names, just so I have an idea of who?
What do you want to start?
Carlos.
Emily.
Kira.
Anna. Annika. Naomi.
Agnes.
Ray.
Allison.
Kevin. Stefan.
Emma. Katie.
Angie.
Connor.
Trumpets and then trombones, I guess.
Oh, Megan.
Chris.
AJ.
Claire. Forna. Lisa.
Brian.
Great. We need to know the trombone. There's 4 parts, right? I don't want to sing the opera. Just take away for sharps. Alright, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Are you playing the guitar part?
No, I'm on the vibes part. You do the guitar part?
I don't have a vibes part.
I do.
I start usually the
How did I
same.
have to
Look at their hammers, usually this.
Oh, see on the score that they sent me, there's no vibes part.
Is there a guitar part?
There's a guitar part.
It's probably the guitar part.
Yeah, no. Do you want the guitar part? We have one. You want
Is
to
it the
play
same?
that instead? Oh, it's a little different. She's got more specific melodies.
Yes, I would like the guitar part.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
Hey,
okay.
you're only having to use 2/6 then, right? So. Can I actually hear though at the beginning before we start? Can I hear anybody who has a quarter note on beat
I
1?
know.
This should be bari sax and bass guitar. Can I hear you just these first 4 bars? We gotta vamp it. And I always told them I'm supposed to run through things, but nobody else has done that, so I'm just gonna go on. Bass guitar and bari sax. Let me hear you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So that groove happens over and over again. Can we add in the saxes at the first 4 bars? 1, 2, 1, 2, right, and go. Yeah, even more, man. I love it. Crank it. This is your moment, right? Bass guitar and bari sax. I love it. And then the guitar, you've got a fun part there. All right. Let's run it. Let's do it. This is a funk. It's a kind of a chill, laid back funk. Jeff Jarvis writes a lot of great tunes. It's not a Maynard Ferguson funk, right? So.
How many times do you want to do solos?
Right. Great question. So, at 59, the solo section, you can literally play an E flat the entire time. A concert E flat. So I would love to have a clarinet solo. Yeah. Let's do first time alto. We need alto. Yeah? No? Yeah, all right. We're going to do 4 times 59 during the solo section. 4 times 59. Background, second and fourth time only. So you're taking the first solo, second solo. It's just 8 bars.
Yeah.
You'll live. 4 times to the 9. First solo, second solo. Piano, bass guitar.
No, sir.
Is that 3 and 4 then? Are you talking the 1, 2?
So 8 measures each. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Okay.
You want the vibes?
Yes, you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't. I
I'm
really
not gonna make you solo
I can try.
Look
Yeah. Look,
I won't make you so if you don't want.
that's all it is the entire time. Just keep playing.
Okay.
Alright?
Hit something.
Let's give it a whirl. Come
No,
on.
it's fine. Just don't be bad.
Laid back funk.
Don't be bad.
Keep it nice. Keep it easy. 1, 2. Beginning. Shoot. Ready. And go. let's go back. That was really nice. There was a lot of great stuff in there. I love how when somebody else who was up here earlier says something, you guys take that on to the next piece. These whole notes and quarter note swells, forte pianos, even when it's not marked to get out of the way or it's not marked forte piano, you guys are getting out of the way, so I love it. Careful of the key change at 77. Piano. Loving those hits, Kate.
Thank you.
Because you got them with the saxes and you're nailing it. Let's see. I want to go back to, where was it? Can I have, where was it? At 14, trumpets. You guys got the melody at 6, the trombones come in and play with you at 14. Can I hear the brass at 14? Rhythm section, join us. 1, 2, it's okay. 1, 2, ready? Go. So, one of the fun things about jazz is that if you play the articulation not as like crisp or not as exact or whatever, it can really mean a different style, right? If you slur something that's a Latin piece, it might not sound Latin anymore, it may sound more like swing, right? So something to keep in mind. Can we just hear this little pa-pa-da-pa, right? You have staccato, tenuto, staccato, accent. Can we just hear the brass on that? I'll give you 1, 2, 3, coming on the end of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do we match the articulation? No. Try again. 2, 1, 2, 3. Closer. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there it is. Nice job, guys. Good.
Yes.
And then, what is this? Measure 22, 21, 20. Measure 20. This is 2 before 22. But tenuto, staccato, tenuto, 3 staccatos, 2 tenuto quarter notes. This is just brass. Sorry, saxes. I promise I'll come back to you. This is Filato. I'm conducting da-da, right? Stretch those 2 quarter notes out of tenuto right there, right? Stretch them. You do that measure 20? 1.
About 4 minutes.
Measure 20. 2. Ready? Play. Good. Did we do the forte piano though? No. Try it again. 1, 2, ready? Play. Yeah, it's a quick forte piano, right? So you really have to bum, bop. It's only 2 beats, right? And then you got a quarter note on beat 3. It's nice and fat quarter note. It's more staccato, but you're playing it fat, and I like it fat, so keep it that way. Do it again, one more time. Try and get the da, like think ta da ta 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 da ta, right? Do whatever you gotta think or say in your head so that you get that nice long articulation on the tenuto marking. Brass again. Sorry, one more time. Measure 20. 2. Ready? Play. Yeah, that's better. I'll take it. On the articulation is better. Good. Let's go. Saxes, you have a nice, beautiful soli section at 31. Let's hear you. And brass, actually, let's just hear the saxes first, then brass. I'll have you guys join them. 1. You come in on beat 2. I'll also give you 1, 2, 3, 4 coming on 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Stop. Actually, I know. That was nice, guys. Can we add in the brass now? And let's go. This is pickups to 1 before 31. So pickups to 30. So I'm only hear those 2 8th notes before 30. So I'll give you 1, 2, 3 coming on 4. 1, 2, 3. One more time, add in the rhythm section there. Same spot, add in the rhythm section. 1.
Where?
This is
20?
no. It's beat 4 of measure 29. Okay? 1, 2, ready? phrase, right? Bum, 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 bum. It kind of lends itself to something, right? Let's keep going because there's one more spot I wanted to hit. You got this where it says bring out in the guitar part?
What measure?
37, 38, 39.
Yeah.
Can we start? Tell you what, let's go right on 31. Right on 31, everyone. Everyone, 31. And we're gonna keep playing.
About a minute left.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when we get to the third quarter note, the sax is 49, 50, 51, 52. Anytime you have that 4 quarter note pattern, actually, can you guys do a little scoop on that third quarter note for me? Just right? Try it. Add a little funk to the style. Right? Right on, what was that measure? 31. 31, right on 31. 1, 2, 31, play. Guys, great job. Thanks for letting me come out here and conduct. Brass, you could do the same thing. So when you guys are with your bands, anytime you got that 4 quarter note pattern, third one, flip it, you know, kind of fits the melody. Nice. Good job, guys.
Last switch, you haven't played a part. Play it. This is the last one.
Yeah, make trouble. No, make
Maybe I can work my way up a second. Keep letters.
Scary.
Well, first off, hello. You may not know me. I'm that one transfer student. My name is Chris Foster. So, hello. So today we're going to be working on a work song. This is originally composed by the Adderley Brothers, at least recorded by them. So you'll see a lot of features of lead trumpet and our lead alto. So this is originally written with a call and response between the two. So you're going to be trading that line between you guys a lot. So let's try and listen for that as an ensemble and make sure that we're not playing over that at any given time. Because most of the times when we have that main melody being played, it's going to be either with the massive woodwind section we have or with the brass as a collective behind that. So a couple things before we get into this is I want to take a look at the solo section here. And as it may turn out, there are 2 written solos, if you could guess, lead trumpet and lead alto. So what I'd like to do is actually just work out the solo section first before we actually get into the head of the chart. So, so we have our trumpet 1 with the written solo. So you're gonna take a solo. There's nothing I can do about that. But I want to make sure that sorry. Actually, I'm not. After that, it's just one time through. We're gonna have alto sax. You guys can play it as a solo if you guys want. Either that or just kind of like have a Thunderdome. Pick whoever has to play it. And then, is there anybody else that would like to take a solo? Someone raise their hand. Someone raise their hand. Trust me, it'll work out for you. Pick someone.
Solo.
Drum
solo?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Chaoticness aside, is there anybody else who wants to take a solo?
Hasn't gone yet.
Cool. So we'll.
Yeah.
And what's your name?
Carlos.
Carlos. So what we'll do is we'll do lead trumpet first. We'll do
our alto, however they figure that out. Carlos would be third, and then we'll end with the drum solo into the next section here. So
Could I solo? Could I throw in one?
yeah, of course.
So maybe I can solo after, before the drum solo. I can be the last solo.
Yeah, so we'll do.
He does extended.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
So we'll do
Of course, quality.
So we'll do our lead trumpet, we'll do our alto, we will do Carlos, we will do Carrillo, and then we will end with our drum solo going into the next section. Great. We all cool with that?
Yeah.
I want to address our rhythm section in particular. I want to make sure that our vibes and our piano are not playing over each other. So just to make it easier, if we have a odd number like soloist, so for the first soloist, we're going to do piano, and for the even numbers, we're going to do vibes.
Okay.
Cool. Aside from that, the only other thing I want to talk about before we get into this is just this first note. They made in the conductor's notes, they were saying like, hey, can you talk to the band about dot? And I was like, absolutely. So we're going to talk about dot. So this first note, literally everybody has it, so we're all included here. It's wonderful. Can we all just go like dot? Just clap and just go dot. Sorry, I'll count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that one more time. Especially from our lead players, confidently. You guys are going to dictate the style there for the rest of your section. So really be confident on that, alright? Try it one more time. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Exactly right. It is forte. It is dot. Do not be scared of that note. That note is your friend. Alright?
What section the solo is from? Because we don't have it written.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. So this solo section should be from, I believe,
41 to 57.
yeah, someone said it.
That makes sense. Because we don't have that. It's double sided. We can look at that.
All good? Alright, yeah, so.
I think we're starting at the beginning. Yeah?
Yep. Yeah, take from the head. All good? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I found myself getting lost in the time with the drums, but that was great. So, absolutely great. So, yeah, come on. Right.
I might say, if it's okay, from the original recording of this is quite a bit slow. I'm not sure that's what the tempo has for this, but it definitely could go up a few clicks. That's usually about what.
Yeah, it's marked about 128.
128, yeah, okay. It's sounding good like that, it's just noticeably slow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so there's a couple of things I would like to look at here. So one of the big things is, especially with our drums, you did pretty good at setting up those very exposed, what I call vertical sections, where we're all kind of coming in together like that. Keep setting up like that. That was wonderful. What I would like for us to do, brass at 25, what I would like us to do is really seek to emulate the style of the saxophones when we come in, because we have pretty much the exact same thing they were playing. So I'm part of you. This is the trombone player in me. I always go back home. But yeah, so we want to really try to emulate the saxes there, and especially with our lead part, like, be wrong and proud. If you're gonna send it, you gotta full send it, you know. So that being said, what I'd like to do is I'd just like to do this opening with the saxes, do the response with the brass, and then we'll just kind of go back and talk about that really quick. So let's take it back here straight from the beginning here. Also, great entrance. I love that. You can even give me more. Like, I want to have to go get my ears checked after this personally. Yeah, so let's try this one more time, right?
You have 2 minutes left.
Thank you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you.
it's weird because like in a weird way we have like an equal number of both. So like I almost want us to like be playing at the same volume. I think our saxophone players, I'm not sure what it is, maybe we're just feeling it today. You guys are playing real strong, real good. I like that. The brass are getting a little lost. Not in like a literal sense, but we just need more of that. Like, especially from like our inner parts too. I know we're kind of hiding under people and just being like, this is a new world for me and it's hard. No, I want to hear some quarter tones or something like that. No, play out. Absolutely, play out. Not literally, but like for legal reasons, that's a joke. But
Make sure we can see the bells out here, obviously, that makes a big deal too. I know trombones are kind of getting followed up, but just position your stand so that we can see your bells at all times. That has a lot to do with projection.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. So if you could please go ahead and page your parts and put them back in the folder that's listed with parts, number, and name. And you have what? How do you go over and how do you do this?
Just go until either Tito has to leave or
Do you mind if we ask some questions?
Oh, please, absolutely.
So this is an open Q&A. If you have questions, just raise your hand. So anyone have a first question about jazz teaching, about jazz anything? This is your opportunity. Anything
yeah.
you can do.
So you talked a little bit earlier about like inauthentic music that doesn't really like encapsulate like the jazz style. So like, what would be some parameters for picking out music aside from like the way I thought of it was just old music that's been rearranged and stay away from new contemporary music?
Oh, yeah, right. It has to do with when you start studying what the fundamentals of jazz are through jazz history. You're going to come up with some very basic, simple answers. They're going to be the sound of the blues normally is present, even if it's a standard tune, for example. You know what I mean? You're going to find now. Obviously, there's a lot of different styles that we associate, but primarily swing is the traditional style, and also swing is the one style that we didn't grow up with necessarily on the radio, for example, and certainly your students, when you get into your positions, did not grow up listening to. So therefore, learning how to swing only works when we're all doing it at the same time. I love the fact, was it you that had people sing together? Somebody had people sing rhythms.
I think that was clear.
Yeah, that's fantastic move right there because we can't swing if like just individually. We have to be able to do it collectively. Blues, swing, and then obviously the element of improvisation. All I meant by that, and I certainly I didn't mean to say it's inauthentic. I mean, that's not. I'm not trying to be derogatory in what I'm saying. I want to say, are we going to play material that's going to point students in the direction to go do their own investigation? Because the reality is, you could have someone play in jazz band, and then maybe they come to study jazz, and it's like all of these names, from the history of the music are foreign. You see what I'm saying? Like and the way I learned this music. I did have my great jazz band experience. We did play a lot of Ken Dore stuff. We did play a lot of, more contemporary stuff as well. But for me personally, it was more of a matter of going and listening and finding my favorite trumpet players like Clifford Brown and Freddie Hubbard and trying to bring, even if it was a smidge of that experience to when I solo. So soloing wasn't just play a scale. It's like, oh no, I remember Clifford Brown, how he played that solo. I'm going to try and tap into that a little bit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the kind of encouragement you want to bring to your students. And it's an ongoing thing. It's not something that gets done in a semester or what have you. You know what I mean? It's more of a culture that you're trying to breed in your program. Okay? Hopefully that
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as, as far as titles, having a mix with some tunes that are written by either the Great American Songbook, Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, having some of that material, even arrangements of those, and then having some that are written by jazz musicians, historical jazz musician figures. St. Thomas by Sonny Rollins, for example. Things like that. Horace Silver's music. If you play a monk tune, things like that. That's what I'm talking about. Make sure to include some of that. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Cool. Anything else? Yes.
So, in my personal experience, and I'm sure like a lot of us share this experience, a lot of the music education that we receive from like K through 12 is very embedded in like technical stuff and like very classical and stuff like that. And then like jazz is introduced into high school, and then like it's like you have to start from like step one of like understanding like the differences in language when you play and stuff like that. But like, how do you personally feel, or like what would you recommend if you're like trying to like, I guess, make it an even playing field for both like, you know, your general like knowledge of scales and stuff like that, but also like having your students understand like jazz. You don't have to only play jazz to be good at jazz. Like you can like balance both. If that makes sense.
Balance both,
Like in the sense of like
traditional
learning.
methods, classical traditional styles with jazz.
Yeah, because like for me it was like if you were good at jazz, you're like staying at jazz.
Oh, I see.
Like that type of thing.
It was very kind of clicky. is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's interesting. I never had that experience when I was in high school, and I came from a high school in Texas where I had my best friends were like these really standout, wonderful musicians. One of my closest friends was like principal in the All-State Symphony Orchestra, for example, and he was really into the classical thing, and we all listened to Mahler symphonies, and we all listened to Clifford Brown. That's just, and the thing is when you're playing a Mahler symphony or when you're playing a concert band piece, you go and you listen to the recording and you try to get to the very essence of that style. Why should it be any different when we're going to play a jazz piece? You see what I'm saying? We have to listen to who the greatest artists are and try to learn from it somehow. Oh, I noticed they're doing this with their articulation. Oh, I noticed that. Honestly, he played this great solo, and the first chorus was just all blues scale stuff. You know what I mean? And so you bring that to it. Yeah, I don't know. It's an odd question for me, but maybe you came from a program that was kind of large or something like that, right? That had that kind of developed. And sometimes, I've seen it a lot actually, where certain educators are really known for their jazz program. Right? It's like, they're winning all the trophies, all the stuff like that. So I could kind of see how it could happen like that. I just certainly wouldn't run my program necessarily like that. You know what I mean? It's really important to adhere to the stylistic, traits of each and every style. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Sorry, I can't.
And then following that, what is like something that you would like strongly recommend, or just like continue to follow as future music educators? Essentially, like what is one thing that you're like essential to have our students kind of benefit from that? Like for someone who is not very good at jazz, for lack of better terms, what do you recommend for like?
Honestly, it's improvisation. Studies have just shown that when people are improvising, they're using different parts of their brain. That even when you're just playing written music, for example, the critical portion of your brain, the one that's judgmental, has to actually be turned off in order to be in a flow state. You kind of become childlike, where hey, let's see what's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And you're just thinking forward. And so there's just a ton of benefit for that. I would recommend everybody, if you haven't done this already, if these tunes are new to you, go check out the Jamie Aebersold collection. It's volume 54. It's called Maiden Voyage. Many of you probably are very familiar with it. What I like about that collection of tunes is all of those tunes on there. There's about 11 or 12. And they're all jam session tunes that literally you could play with musicians around the world. but they're also all like very slow, with only a few chords, not a lot. It's not overwhelming. And as kind of a little project with your students, to go through each one of those tunes and just kind of break them down one at a time and give them, like I said, a little structure of what they can do to improvise over it so that they themselves can start to experience that childlike flow state quality. That's only going to benefit. It's going to teach. There's so many benefits to it. You're gonna hear a difference when they come back to the concert band music, for example, because you're developing your ear at the same time. It's not just the written. In fact, by the way, this is a big deal with me, with my students, and for some students it's harder. And I get them to get away from looking at the page as soon as they possibly can. That's a big deal because now visuals. I'm a visual learner myself, but the goal in improvisation is to get away from that and actually be singing the melodies, the ideas in your mind, and play what you're singing. That's where we want it to go, and it's many students and some of you might feel like, don't take that sheet away from me. I'll improvise, but don't take the sheet away from me, that type of thing. And there's just so much benefit from, even if you're playing something very repetitive, even if you just limit yourself to one little scale, but do it away from the page with the backing track or with the recorded source, whatever. That's what teaches you the flow state. That's what teaches you to become aware of actually not just every note you're playing and put the spotlight on yourself, but you start to be able to open up and you're aware of what's happening in the group when the music is happening. Okay? Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you talk about flow state and all this sort of thing. I'm curious, I have my own experience teaching in Chicago Public Schools for the past 5 years, but I'm curious, when you were growing up in Texas, were you taught the blues scales first, or did you how were you taught how to improv?
Oh yeah, I was taught the same way that most of you probably were taught. Most definitely.
Because when I was in my undergrad, a lot of my improv teacher was like, "We're not going to start on the blues," and he made us start with 2-5-1 chord changes and transcribing Miles Davis's "So What" solo.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how can I not use crutches like the blues scales to teach jazz in a different way to middle and high schoolers that will allow them to not be like, oh my God, I'm so confined, I can only play these F, A flat, B flat, B natural, C, the notes of the blues scale, whether it's major or minor.
I don't look at the blues scale as a crutch because the reality is when you hear the great blues artists play, when you hear great jazz artists play, it's a sound they're using, period. It's a sound all of them use. It's just one sound, and you're right in that it's limiting if that's the only thing you do. But guess what? We all have to start at some point, and I do believe that there needs to be kind of a baseline, again, especially for those students who are very reluctant to step into this space. For them to know, I don't know if you noticed, but that's all I played in my little solo here on Work Song, But here's what you want to do with your students. Whether you give them 2-5-1s, the problem with when you start to get into very specific chord changes, we all have to understand that harmony is an open universe. You're never going to know everything there is to know about harmony. And brains can get overloaded very quickly, and all of a sudden it's just frustration. Like this, I don't want to even go down this route, I think starting with something that, yes, we gotta reimagine how we use scales because it's different. When you tell your students we're gonna play this scale, they're immediately thinking back to their district band scale sheet. We're gonna memorize this thing and we're gonna no. See, scales in improvisation is like paints on a palette. You see, and so these are the colors that we use, and I got an empty canvas. That's my solo. You see, and I'm gonna paint what I feel like right now, but I can only use these colors. And I think in the beginning it's good to limit those colors because it's a lot to think about. They're trying to swing, they're trying to sound confident, play the right notes on there, put down the right buttons. And so, once they start feeling more and more comfortable, then they start expanding. But, it's one thing to, and the other thing I want to just remind you of, or, emphasize, is that the blues is a feeling. It's not a scale. The blues scale are the notes, but how you play the notes is really where the power and the sound is. It'd be different. See there, the blues scale sounds pretty good. It's you bringing it to life. And so if you share that with your students, like, hey, you can play the blues scale, but challenge them to try to play it, and challenge yourself for that matter. Try and play it in as many different ways as you can. Try and discover different patterns, and then really try to put your heart and soul behind each note, because people all around the world will feel that. You know what I mean? This is universal music right here. So, was that our bell? Or was that our alarm?
Nope.
Oh, okay, cool. Just good. I love that you're teaching 251s though and stuff like that. That is fantastic. Or that you learned that with your. Is that what you're saying? That you went through a program? And
Not in high school, in college when I was my undergrad.
Oh, gotcha.
Like a part of my master's.
I see. Yeah. Great. Other questions? Any other questions? Yes.
So I didn't really start jazz until like junior, senior year of high school, just because it wasn't even like, I felt like in my personal opinion it was something like you either started really early on, like in the beginning, or you just didn't do it. So I was like one of the few who joined later. So how would you help like students who are interested in doing jazz, or even those who have like a spark in it, to like get them started on the instrument? Because there was also like financial issues too. Like,
Okay, sure.
into it. So like,
Sure.
how would you help students in these situations like get started in jazz, even if they didn't start at the beginning point?
I'll tell you this. This has to do with the general ethos that you set in the program, or that was set in the program that year. And I'll tell you what's so common is, okay, we got this jazz band festival competition or whatever. And so we're going to get our 3 charts together solid, and only the really standout improvisers are ever going to solo, that type of thing. It just becomes, you get caught in that. And if you can be speaking to, obviously you want to encourage your standouts to keep growing, keep continuing, and give them space, but you want to be speaking to everybody else, and you want to be inclusive with your approach and how you teach. We're all going to do this. And you know what? For some students, it's going to take that type of pushing, right? They're not going to, some of the students are not going to want to do it. Why? Because they go and they hear their neighbors, why should I do it? They're killing it, And it's like, no. We are all going to do this. And let's do it. And you make it fun. You know what I mean? You make it interesting. You even improvise over a tune they might know more. You find an arrangement of Pharrell Williams' Happy or something like that. You know what I mean? And let's improvise over that tune, something that they might know. You make it fun.
Where do you draw the line then between, jazz, and the culture of jazz versus hip hop and the culture of hip hop? If you're like playing, Firework by Katy Perry and just having kids solo over that versus, actually playing Firework by Katy Perry as, a stage band or, hip hop ensemble, if you will.
I mean, if you're using it as a vehicle for improvisation, then I'm cool with it. But you mentioned hip hop, and hip hop wouldn't be here without jazz. I mean, in fact, a lot of the early hip hop were sampling all of the classic jazz albums. You see what I'm saying? There inherently is a connection between hip hop and jazz, and hip hop uses a swing 8th note rhythm, not a straight rhythm. So, So, yeah, again, I don't want to come off sounding like a purist because I myself made my career playing all different types of music, okay? All I'm saying is that it's important that jazz is a discipline worthy of study. I'm a professor. I've been a professor for 18 years. I am a student of jazz to this day. And if you can adopt that kind of mindset wherever you are right now, even if you're kind of at the beginning of your journey, but go on the journey and take your students with you on the journey. I think that's really important. Yeah.
How do you solve problems of lack of instrumentation? Like you just don't have enough people, like you don't have a piano player, for example, or there's not enough bones to cover like the entire four part.
It's hard to park the front trunk player.
Yeah. I mean, that gets tougher when you start talking about the rhythm section in particular. And that's where you may have to step in as the director and actually learn a few chords on the piano or something. Or you adopt someone who has more of a classical background, and you start someone who's open to learning it, and you start kind of feeding them some information to get them caught up to speed in that sense. As for horns and stuff, I think you can be flexible with that. What's it going to mean? It means that you're not going to be able to have a full score for all of these big band shards. But now you could actually go into combo type tunes, like the tunes that I mentioned, for example, from the Hiberso collection, which are all like Autumn Leaves, Lulasa, Satin Doll, things like that, things that you could hear at any jazz jam session, for example. And I don't know, maybe you make it kind of a fun part of it. If you have any of your students who might be a little bit more interested in arranging, they can arrange something for you. That could be like a little project if they're really passionate about it. Sometimes you have students. I bet you, Ryan, you were like that in school, weren't you?
Yeah.
Right? Like hey, we want to do this tune. We're gonna do it for this instrumentation. Let's just do it for that. It becomes a fun type of project. You see what I'm saying? But I think there's a lot more flexibility with the horns than if we're talking about bass. Piano. Remember that we can either use piano or guitar. If you have a guitarist that knows chords, we just need one instrument that can supply the harmonic chordal information so that we can play. That's the main thing. Not a great answer, but that's what I got for you right now. I think it's part of building a successful program is that you have that pipeline, right? Right? You're digging into the middle school, you have some relationship with them so that there's always someone coming up. So the upcoming year, and it's always good to have two piano players, two bass players, that type of thing is really, really good if you can do that. Great. Any other questions? Yes.
I know you're a professor here, and you're also an performer still. Is it ever hard to try and balance the teaching and the performing aspect of your career?
Oh, hell yeah.
Do you have any tips for people who would in the future? Because I would like to be a music educator, but I also like to be a professional performer as well. So.
There are people who are doing it. Again, here I am. This is a research institution, which means that this school wants their professors active in the field. That's a very specific thing for research institute. It'd be a very different thing if I was teaching public school. But guess what? I have friends who are doing that. One that comes to mind, John Wojciechowski over at St. Charles North, right? And now he's one of the greatest sax players in the country and in the world. And he's teaching, symphony orchestra and music theory and all of this stuff at St. Charles North. He's a guy you should connect with. You know what I mean? If you, because I've heard you play, for example, and I hear you're a strong player, strong interest in jazz. So
Yeah.
you want to connect with him and ask him those questions. How are you able to do this? How are you able to balance it? But he's been He's been teaching public school all since the late 90s, since I've known him, for example. And he loves his job, by the way. But he's not as flexible to travel at all, you know what I mean? You know, and guess what? He doesn't really want to have to travel in order to make a living. He's very happy and content being near Chicago and playing the gigs that are meaningful to him when he has the time to do them. And it's a life choice. This whole thing is a life choice for everybody. You know, how far you want to go into this. That's really a personal choice that everybody has to make. Great. Any other questions? Well, it's been a pleasure hearing you all play. You guys all play jazz. I hear it. you know the style very well. How many of you are playing like your non-primary instruments? That's impressive. That's impressive. Yeah. Hey, anybody's welcome to hit me up. Email me if you have any additional questions or thoughts along this line. I'm actually working on an online commercial video course right now called Jazz Improvisation for Newbies. And it's going to be all pre-recorded videos. I've got most of the videos actually recorded right now. I'm just still working on getting the supplemental materials together. I was hoping to launch it sooner, and I ended up moving houses over the summer, and that took all of my time. So I'm looking to get it out over the next couple of months. And once I do, I will definitely let Ryan know, and he can forward that to anybody who might be interested. Okay? All right. Thank you.
I think we're good. Just Midwest announcement. Go ahead.
Hi, Midwest announcement real quick for those of you that are going. The next deadline that we have is you have to register for Midwest by the 13th of October, which is this month, which is next week. Yeah, so we have, in like 2 days. So make sure you guys do that. If we need an extension, I'm happy to give an extension on that through the end of the week, just because I know that deadline came up really quick. So yeah, you go on Midwest website, register for that, and then I'll set up a form. I'll talk about it more on Wednesday, but I need to get a screenshot of everybody doing that just to make sure that you guys did register so that
we can prove it to them if they.
Yeah, we can prove it to them, and that also we can make sure that like you guys are set to go and that I don't have anything to worry about financially. So, thank you.
Hi. Am I able, are you guys, is there chat or something for the Midwest Clinic? Like, are you guys doing stuff while you're there?
So we're all going as a group. You can see us after. We can talk to you about it.
Right, because I'm going, but I'm like staying with my dad because he's playing with the AWS.
Right, yeah, we can talk about that. You can join our group meet, and then we'll talk in there. But yeah, let's chat. Wednesday is our next concert reading band in Harding, grade 1s. We don't have a lot of people or conductors signed up yet, so please, if you'd like to do that. We're playing secondaries, or you can play whatever you want. It's going to be a fun time. And I also wanted to clarify for this, for jazz reading bands, 240 is the requirement to direct, not 242. 240 is intro to music education. It's not conducting. So if any of y'all in the future would like to direct a jazz reading band, 240 is the requirement, not 242. So, Lord, anything else that I missed? Is that it? Thank you so much for coming. Have a good night. Have a great night, guys. Oh no, I didn't. Thanks, Jeremy. Take care.